Good morning and welcome to day 2 of YCS Milan 2014. I'm your host for the weekend, Oliver German, and I'm joined here by Rob, Grace and Hooley.
Good morning.
Great to have you back for the second day of competition.
Should be fun.
How are you feeling?
Tired.
Tired?
But I guess all the players probably are as well. They were here until 11:30 last night.
Yeah, something like that. So yesterday we killed a rainforest, printing out pairings and standings. This is just from the first 8 rounds. Of 1,461 players that initially showed up. There are not that many left today. I think we're down to 256.
Something like that.
So everybody with a decent enough record is still staying in the field. And to have a chance at advancing to the top 32 after 3 more rounds of Swiss that are upcoming now, this is our second cut, and everybody needs to have a X2 record.
Yes.
So we have some players that made day 2, but they still will not be able to advance to the top 32, no matter what, how well they are playing today. Like Konrad Grunewald or Chris Buntaludis, for example, one of the many Greek players that came here, one of the strongest nations in Europe when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yes.
And speaking of Greeks, we do have 2 Greeks on our feature match table for round 9. On the left-hand side, you're going to see Ioannis Maurelatos, and on the right-hand side, you're going to see, and I practiced that, Ioannis Papadokonstantakis. Okay, I messed up. So, as you can see, the name almost fits on the screen. It's Papadokonstantakis. But the best thing to do when it comes to Greek names is just call them out in a very fast way.
Yeah. Now, this is the Wyver Buster, Clap Serpent, Chaos version of Shaddoll there that
Papadokonstantakis
P is playing.
Ioannis P. All right. And Ioannis Maurelatos, on the other hand, you might remember him from YCS Leipzig back in the days 2012. He was running Insector. It was one of the decks to beat at the time, together with Dino Rabbit. But he was playing it in a very different way, with lots of equip spell cards that I think nobody else was playing, actually.
Yeah, just the standard mathematician into Squamata, playing Falco, and then using a Foolish Burial to drop Beast into the graveyard to draw an extra card. Really important to get your searches off before you start your draw effects, because you don't want to draw into what you were trying to search.
Right, so if you're just tuning in and you haven't been watching the coverage before, we do have all the cards on our app on the right-hand side of the screen, so we can bring them up for you and explain the effects in case you're not familiar with all of the effects. This is the mathematician that we mentioned before that allows you to send a card from your deck to the graveyard. And let's take a look at Maurelatos opening 6 cards because he goes second. He's running the Monarch Stormforth in the main deck.
It's very interesting. It's not one of my personal choices. A lot of people use it as kind of an extra destruction card in Cleethorpes, especially because all of your monsters you contribute other than trampolines.
And he does have the all-important Cleethorpes Scout in his opening hand, so he will most likely activate that. There we go. That's a normal monster, so you might be wondering, why is that normal monster being set to the very left side of the field? That is because it's a pendulum monster. It does have 2 parts. One card, you can see when you take a closer look at the card that the upper half is a monster with the brown background. And the lower half of the card is a spell card. And this is what he's doing here. He's activating it as a spell card in the left pendulum zone. And it allows him to search his deck turn after turn.
He can pay 800 life points once per turn to search his deck for any Clee card, as it said there on the card. Something interesting, somebody was kind of half complaining about why is the pendulum zones in the middle in between the spell and the monster zones. And it's actually, if you look at the design of the card, the upper half is a monster and the lower half is a spell, so it sits in between the zones.
You're right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense when you look at it that way.
Monarch Stormforth.
There is the Monarch Stormforth. So
it's probably going to be tributing that Falco.
Yeah, of course.
Don't want to flip it face up.
Exactly. So all of the Shaddoll monsters do have flip effects. A Falco with Spellcaster, a flip monster, a tuner, and of course an effect monster. I think that's one of the longest taglines we have.
I'm sure there's one that's longer, but it escapes me at the moment.
Right, so Maurelatos, or Ioannis, tributing his opponent's set Falco. Still gets the other effect if it is sent to the graveyard. No, it doesn't, because it's not sent by card effect, it's sent to tribute, right?
That's correct. No, it should still... Oh, right, sent to the card. Yes. It's not sent by card effect, you're
yeah,
correct.
so the thing is that the Monarch Stormfall simply allows you to tribute an opponent's monster. It doesn't tribute it right away, from what I'm understanding here. And that means you can...
Let's look at Ioannis' hand
and
just to see what he's got available to him. Now, he's got a Raigeki, so he's easily going to get rid of that carrier. And then he has a Denko Sekka.
Right, Denko Sekka, one of the most important cards, or one of the breakout cards this weekend. It's a cold wave on legs.
Yep.
And just like Christia, which happens to be a Vanity Sentinels on legs, it did not skip leg day. It comes with 1,700 attacks, so it packs quite the punch. And all of those set cards that Maurelatos is having in his back row, they are dead at this point in time. And this is providing Papadokonstantin with an opening, and he's going to deal first damage in this game here, and quite a bit. With both Mathematician, Denko Sekka, and Black Dragon Collapse Serpent sent in there, and Maurelatos losing half of his life points. And he's gonna pay even more life points for the effect of the Clifford Scout. So this duel might be over very soon.
Very quickly, although he has just drawn into another Monarch Storm 4th.
Which is no good without a monster in hand.
But that Scout can now go and search a monster for him.
Yeah, so he solves that problem.
And all you need to do is get rid of that Denko Sekka.
Right, so Maurelatos has 4 cards on the field.
And he searched for, I believe that's Helix.
Yeah, we're going to have that in just a second for you guys on the app. There you go. It's a Clifford Helix. And what's going through the head of Papadokonstantin here?
Probably not good things. He's got Summoner's Art there as well.
He cannot stop his opponent from simply attacking over the Denko Sekka.
Well, what's going to happen is, I believe he's going to be tributing that Denko Sekka just to get rid of it. Probably then getting rid of the Collapse Serpent rather than attacking into the Mathematician and allowing his opponent to get a draw. Or he could tribute the Mathematician to stop that happening.
So now he's got cards in both his left and his right pendulum zone.
Now he's pendulum locked himself, but it may be worth it. With a sacrifice?
Yeah, pendulum locked. What do you mean by that? It's like he cannot perform any pendulum summons, can he?
No, because he's put a scale of 9 in both zones.
Yeah, and the monsters that you get to special summon need to be between those scales.
And there is no number between 9 and 9.
Yeah, and there we have it. This is the part that can slightly get confusing. If we don't have the cards in those zones, you might mistake the right copy of Clifford Scout for a monster rather than a pendulum spell card.
That wasn't a Monarch Storm 4th, that was the Summoner's Art that he used to get that Scout to be able to get the sacrifice. Now, he is set up to get a disc next turn. And if he does, it's going to be bad news.
Yep. And he's down to 600 life, excuse me. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
He paid 2 times for the Scout.
Unfortunately, now he can't pay for Scout again.
Yep.
Now he's using, I believe that's Forbidden
The
Chalice.
Forbidden Chalice, yes.
It's going to negate Mathematician's effect, stopping him from getting that search. Now, at the moment, he doesn't have any Shadow monsters to use either of those fusions that are in his hand. And Mirror Force
There's a
comes
Mirror
to hand.
Force.
Wow.
One of the cards that you don't see that often anymore. Because lots of the better players think that nobody's going to run into a Mirror Force anymore, and this is the X factor. Since you don't see it coming, when it actually gets flipped, it can make quite the impact, and here it does, with Maurelatos cleaning out Papadokonstantin's field. 3 monsters for 1 card. That's definitely a trade I would be willing to make. Although Ioannis with an Y is still getting something out of the destruction.
And in the end phase, just getting rid of that there.
Yeah, that was an L Shaddoll fusion, and it gets hit by the mystical Space Typhoon.
What is that he's just drawn there?
So Maurelatos, you said it, he's locked himself out of pendulum summoning, but he at this point in time he has the biggest hitter on the field.
Pretty much.
And he
also can't be destroyed by battle whilst that sacrifice is there, but it has the downside that it is a little bit small.
He did draw into a Qliphort Helix.
Helix isn't really helping him right now. Because there's no spell or trap cards to be getting rid of.
Yeah, so that's not much, and he's not gonna get any with the Helix on the field. Yeah, you don't want to give up your field advantage. Maybe for the surge of sacrifice. Would that be an real option?
No, that you could do that.
But then again, you can just continue attacking.
Yeah,
it's just
and then he can do that whenever. He just doesn't need any other extra cards at the moment.
Yep. So that's the straightforward approach. Old school attacking. So these guys, they traveled here together with former European champion from Greece, with I think it's Chris Buntaludis. I might be mixing them up. They always hang out together, but no, he's the European champion 2013, Chris Buntaludis, and we mentioned him earlier because he's actually out of competition, even though he did make day 2. And we see quite a few other Greek players still in competition, so they can still advance to the top 32. And it's not that surprising. It seems to me like if you look at the ratio of the size of the country and the size of the community and the players that are constantly showing up at the top tables, Greece might be, together with Austria, leading Europe in that regard.
There goes the attack.
Yeah, so Maurelatos gaining the upper hand and having a very strong control on the field. Well, what's something that Papadokonstantin is looking for here? Like a Black Luster Soldier would be big.
A Black Luster Soldier would be really helpful for him right now.
Yeah, a card that we've seen yesterday, getting top decked twice in 1 match. At the most opportune of moments for Patrick Reeder.
And that is just an enemy controller, not necessarily helping there.
Yeah, so he's Papadokonstantin, as you can see on the right-hand side, he does have a Shaddoll fusion, which is not that much use at the moment because his opponent doesn't control a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck. And the enemy controller with...
Enemy controller, he's either going to tribute or he's going to change battle position. Oh, he's tributing, and he's taking the Helix with the sacrifice on it. I believe he's going to attack the other one. But first, he's getting the effect to go and get the Wyvern Buster from his deck to his hand.
And that might be enough. That is enough damage if the second attack can attack. And we, of course, know that it's going to connect because the only other card that Maurelatos had was a face-down Night Beam, which can be called a bluff in that situation. And that is suddenly game for Papadokonstantin.
Yep.
So the enemy controller was actually quite good.
Yeah, it was really helping him out there. I think one of the downfalls of Maurelatos was that he pendulum locked himself, not
Yeah.
allowing him to go and get that carrier from his extra deck. If he had that, he would have been able to return a monster back to hand and then just attack through.
Right. But if he would have special summoned something from his extra deck, wouldn't be the Shaddoll Fusion his device?
Doesn't need... Oh, yeah, well... No, because he would have been able to... Thinking about it, pendulum summon, then tribute for a Helix, then put the sacrifice on it. Then he would have had a bigger monster at 2700. Fortunately, it was the enemy controller that really brought his downfall there.
Yeah. All right. So we do have the deck list of Ioannis Maurelatos with us, so we can check out what's going to come in. And this is actually the good, or supposedly good matchup for the Cliffords, going up against Shaddolls. They do not want to go up against Burning Abyss. We have seen that yesterday on the stream, and that didn't turn out so well.
Now, looking at it, we've got 3 Vanity's Emptiness, which is probably going to make their way into the main deck. There's also Raigeki and a different dimension ground.
I think it was Peter Gross yesterday with his Burning Abyss deck going up against Diego Badinotti with Clifford. And this was when Burning Abyss really showed us that it doesn't have to fear Clifford at all. Right. Other highlights of yesterday's stream, which you of course can check out if you are on the website on Twitch. You can go to the profile page of the official Yu-Gi-Oh channel, and then there's going to be a section called Past Broadcasts. And in this section, you will get to see everything that went down yesterday, so you can revisit the highlights from yesterday, like round 2 with Jens Eckert and his 6 Samurai deck sweeping the table with Joshua Schmidt and his Shaddoll deck. I think that Schmidt is actually out of competition after that rough start with the 0-2. Another player who did have, well, not the best of starts is Alpay Engin. He was on 2-1 or maybe 3-1 at one point. Well, he definitely was on 3-1 at one point, because he's currently on 7-1, so he has improved his position quite a bit. We after this round, we will have the current standings for you guys, so we can take a look at it together. One player that's currently leading the pack is Jake Quincy, who has also been doing extremely well in London. Also undefeated until, together with his brother Luke, until they almost had to go up against each other. They were 2 out of the 3 last remaining players in competition that hadn't been defeated. They ended up losing to Marcello Barberi. Excuse me there. That was Patrick Reeder, of course, the only undefeated player in the Swiss portion of YCS London, who then ended up losing to Marcello Barberi in the top 32. So sometimes this is how it goes. You can go undefeated in Swiss and then you lose the first round in the knockout portion.
Jake's really quite excited about coming into day 2 and being 8-0. He did post last night. The dream of winning a YCS is real. So he's going all for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have quite a few guys that we have seen before at the very top of the standings. Also Stefano Mimoli, 12th place, for example, former European champion and 2-time World Championship competitor. But let's not get ahead of ourselves and take another look at this match here. The hands are going to load in just a second.
Already I can see a Denko Seka, a Fairy Wind. So taking against Clifford.
On the right-hand side for Papadokonstantin, and on the left-hand side for Maurelatos, he does have a so-called Floodgate, Vanity's Emptiness.
Yes, Vanity's Emptiness. He also has a Summoner's Art there, so he has access to his Scout.
So they call it Floodgate because many decks, or I'm almost going to say all decks in the format, try to flood the field with plenty of monsters all in the same turn. And a card that players like to call Floodgate is one that can stop this from happening. All right, so here's the opening of Papadokonstantin with Shaddoll Fusion.
Well, Ioannis has decided to go second there, Maurelatos, sorry. has decided to go second.
Well, I don't think that's a bad decision.
It's not, because he gets the first attacking turn. I believe he was thinking of being able to just kind of bring everything out. Unfortunately, there's a big Shaddoll construct right in the way now.
Yeah, but he does have the Summoner's Art. He's missing something like the Monarch Stormforth to be able to tribute his opponent's monster.
That's correct,
I
yes.
think that's one of the reasons why he doesn't mind going second as much as other decks do. He can simply tribute his opponent's monsters. And with his deck being very much relying on that Clifford Scout that he needs to draw into, that's another reason you want to have the 6th card. It's gonna get you so much closer. Explosive start for the Shaddolls here. Papadokonstantin assembling his field with the L Shaddoll construct, the Z Shaddoll Falco, and the White Dragon Viverbuster.
And I believe that there was... Just shuffle his hand.
He did draw into a
It's the
bottomless trap hole.
Yep. Just a little too late.
That's what Maurelatos drew into. Yeah, cards like that are definitely not good when you're going second, or like in that situation after your opponent has already put everything on the field.
Ooh, and a Blind Mystical Space Typhoon takes away the Fairy Wind.
That looks like good news to Maurelatos, because he might feel like he's safe to use his Scout. Fortunately for him, he does have the Night Beam.
So Summoner's Art to go and fetch a Scout.
Yep, Summoner's Art doesn't really do anything else. It's just add 1 Clifford Scout to your hand.
That is its effect. It was bought in Tactical Evolution, and they thought, you know what, there's a card that's going to be called Clifford Scout, and this is going to be really useful with it. So, yeah, I could probably see that card. I believe that card is going to be reprinted, but I'm not sure. In Astral Pack 6, which was released on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card database, the official database, if you want to look at the set list for.
But it's always interesting to see that even the older cards can start to make an impact again as soon as a new archetype is released that relies on the old mechanics.
Yeah. Now he's gone and got a Sacrifice. From what I can see, he's probably going to attempt
to summon Helix.
Yep, he's going to summon Helix and equip it with the Sacrifice. So he's going to probably get a search out of this.
How is he going to deal with the El Shaddoll construct?
Currently, I don't think he is.
Maybe he's asking himself the very same question.
He still needs to. He's just got a little bit of waiting to do.
And he doesn't mind as much losing his monsters because they're not going to go to the graveyard. These pendulum monsters, they go face up to the extra deck. And you can bring them back from the extra deck by performing a pendulum summon. Now, at this point in time, it looks not that good for Papadokonstantin because he doesn't have a way to deal with the Clifford Scout. What is your line, or what would be your line of plays to get rid of the Scout here?
To get rid of Scout? Well, what there is his hand?
He's got a Collapse Serpent, a Falco on the field, and the El Shaddoll construct.
The only way that he could probably get rid of it is either just to draw in some sort of destruction effect or try and get a dragon straight into grave.
He just drew into a Shaddoll Fusion.
Well, he's going to be doing... He's got the ability to bring out...
He can bring
a Winder at this point, which is going to...
Not much help, is it?
No, basically because Pendulum Summoning counts as just one summon, regardless of how many monsters that you're summoning. So Winder's effect does not help at all at this point.
One thing that we have seen was a Bottomless Trap Hole being flipped on Winder back at YCS Madrid. So even though the level of competition there was quite, well, high, I would say, this wasn't the best moment we've seen on the stream. Because Winder, in case you guys are not familiar with the card, cannot be destroyed by card effects. So that was I'm losing my card, nothing else happens.
Yeah, I mean, if Bottomless Trap Hole was literally just banish a card, it would be fine, but it destroys that monster and then banishes it.
Yeah, and if you do, it's not and then banish it or then banish. Yeah, there's a big difference with and if you do or simply an and or a then.
And if you do means that that card can also miss timing, I believe.
Well, what it means is that the first part of the effect has to happen for the second part of the effect to happen. If it would be just a then banish it, it would be first effect happens, and no matter if it resolved or not, the second effect, second part of the effect is going to kick in.
Okay, so Falco is flipped, and so is Vanity's Emptiness, stopping Falco's effect from special summoning anything.
So this is the floodgate we mentioned earlier. Still can't get over that name. So it prevents Papadokonstantin from flooding the field with Shaddoll monsters, and this is very, very bad news for him. He can get rid of Maurelatos' field here with his construct. And they are doing some math. I'm wondering, there might be a misunderstanding regarding the life points. This happens sometimes when one player accidentally takes down the wrong life points. For example, that Papadokonstantin subtracted the 800 life points that Maurelatos was paying from his own life points. Something like that. Sometimes that happens. And he wants to deny his opponent the surge by not attacking. Is that correct? Oh, I'm not.
At least sacrifice the ability to stop from being destroyed by battle. Yeah, cannot be destroyed by battle. So it doesn't matter if he was to attack in, all that would happen is he'd just do some damage.
Right. So Maurelatos drew into a Clifford Helix, and he still has that surge from the Scout. He's not going to pendulum lock himself this time, is he?
No. Really thinking about his options here.
Yeah. What are his options? He doesn't want to tribute the Helix again, because that's not going to do much, is it?
It would depend at this point. If he
gets the surge from the sacrifice.
Disc. If he searches for a disc, he could. No, that wouldn't really help that much. It's a hard one. What he could technically do is search for either the disc or the shell.
Right.
Put the Helix into his pendulum zone regardless of whether it's going to be locking him or not, because that Helix has an effect that all your opponent's monsters lose 300 attack.
And I think that's, well, Maurelatos first pays again for the Clifford Scout to go searching, and he's going to answer our question here. We still have to keep in mind that the Vanity's Emptiness is active and also preventing Maurelatos himself from special summoning any monsters. Although
now, he does actually run Shell. Now, if he was to go and get the Shell and use the Helix in the pendulum zone, he's going to be destroying both of those monsters and dealing quite a bit of damage.
That sounds like the best line of plays. And I'm 100% certain that he's aware of that line of plays. And here he goes, searching his deck for a Klee card.
Oh, it looks like he's looking at another sacrifice. Yep, and he's got another sacrifice.
What is the plan here?
It's going to give him an extra 300 attack, but it's not going to be enough to take down. Yeah, I think he's just riding the fact that if that monster gets destroyed, he's going to get 2 searches, or he's going to play the second Helix and equip it to try and get 2 searches.
Yeah, interesting. Also, Maurelatos really doesn't mind his life points going down a bit, as long as he still stays in the field, stays in the game. Which is, yeah, now they are both trying to make sure that
they know which one's equipped to which.
Yeah. Right. So he simply goes with this plan. Are we going to see an Exceed summon? I don't think so.
No. Would be... I guess I would have to say that would be an all-4 play against against the Shaddoll deck to just sit there with the Nexi monster.
Especially when Papadokonstantin does have the Shaddoll fusion, yeah. So he's just going to take some more damage. He's going to suck it up from the Shaddoll construct. And there we go.
Dealing a bit of damage.
Yeah, but this is what you're gonna. If you're talking to the veterans, they will tell you life points really don't matter as long as you have more than one life point, or many times more than 800 because
Yeah, I
of
was about to
Gaga
say,
Cowboy.
in Cliff Fort, you want to have life points. It's one of your most important resources.
Yeah, but you don't mind if it's whether it's 5,000 or 3,000. Most of the time, that doesn't matter so much.
That's an El Shaddoll fusion. I believe that he should be able to play that, and that's another Vanity's Emptiness that's gotten there. I think I kind of understand exactly what he's trying to do there. He was trying to make sure that he didn't get rid of his own Vanity's Emptiness.
Right, so he can have that effect for one more turn, and then maybe come out with a big attack here.
It's possible.
So he's
yes, there's the disc.
There is the disc. So this is, and the thing is, these monsters, they are gonna come back. They are not gonna stay where they are.
The problem he's getting now is if he tries to tribute for that disc, he still only has 2,800 attack, and the monsters that it special summons are going to get destroyed. Unless he does have a play with a 101.
Oh, he does have a second Vanity's Emptiness. So the good thing for Maurelatos is
tributing both of them. That's 4 tributes.
Is this even? I'm not quite sure.
I'm not quite sure what the ruling would be with that.
Is that even allowed?
The judge is walking over.
Yeah, he's like checking that. His sacrifice says that. It says it can be treated as 2 tributes, so it doesn't have to be treated as 2. That's.
And I think he's just checking to see if the Vanity's Emptiness. Well, what order all of the effects resolve in?
Yeah, so Vanity's Emptiness leaves the field one as soon as another card is hitting your graveyard, which is the case here.
Now, Cliff Fort Disc's effect is actually.
So there are.
It's actually that it gets to special summon 2 of the Cliff Fort monsters from the deck to the field, but they are destroyed at the end of the turn. Now,
I don't
see
think he's going to mind that.
Using his Helix there. They tribute to the Helix,
so
meaning
he wants
that
to
can destroy that back row.
Yeah, that is the El Shaddoll fusion, which is not much use anyway.
Sacrifice is getting him a carrier, and it's also getting him a second scout.
So can Maurelatos dish out enough damage here to win this game? Well, the first question is, can he attack over the construct?
Okay. Yes, now that he has a carrier.
And it still gets another 300 attack, is that why? With
carrier being in the pendulum zone gives him plus 300 attack. There's the scout. Paying 800. And he's able to pendulum summon this turn as well. So, yes, this could be it.
This could be it, yeah. It looks like it to me. And I think that Maurelatos was planning this like 2 turns ago. He was aware that, yeah, I just have to stay in there, hang in there for 1 more turn, and then I'm going to go big.
An extra 300 attack doesn't sound like much, but when it's all of your monsters, it's a nice little chip.
So let's bring up the table again for Maurelatos.
And I believe, if anybody was wondering, because a lot of those effects were simultaneous, the turn player gets to choose which order they resolve in.
That's quite important sometimes.
Yeah, so he was choosing there the order in which Vanity's Emptiness would be one of the last things to be destroyed, so no El Shaddoll fusion could be chained.
And
now there's the huge field.
That is a huge
all with
field.
300 extra attack and attacking.
And that is game for Ioannis Maurelatos in the second game. So, yeah. And one thing we actually overlooked with all those cards on the field is, I mentioned, do we going to see an Exceed summon here? But of course that's not possible with the Scout.
No.
And the restriction.
Cliff Fort monsters do say when they're in the pendulum zone, you cannot special summon anything other than Cliff Fort monsters. Now, interestingly, it wouldn't have actually mattered if he'd have gone for an El Shaddoll fusion, because there was still, the bottomless trap hole would stop a second construct, but not a winder.
Yeah. So very, very good play, in my opinion, from Maurelatos here.
Yeah, to kind of hang back rather than going straight for the big play.
And interestingly enough, none of these players is using his side deck now. So it looks like they're both 100% certain that they did
the right choices
yeah.
when they side decked earlier.
And Maurelatos also, I think he's going to go second for the third time now. Did he start the first game? I'm not quite
I believe
sure.
he started the first game.
Yeah, all right. So he's going to go second for the second time now. And he doesn't seem to mind at all.
Well, we're now kind of, with the introduction of the new rule that you can't draw on your first turn, it's now actually become pretty much a choice of whether you're going first or second. And a lot of these new aggressive decks really want to be going second just to get their resources and be able to attack on the first turn. It's no longer a game of setup as such. It's a game of...
Right, so we just have to wait another second until the cards are loading in. You can see in this perspective our two volunteers standing behind the players, and they are searching for all the cards.
Okay.
So we got the...
Say construct on turn 1 again.
It's again an explosive opening from Papadokonstantin. He does have a mathematician and a twister still in hand. And let's take a look at
Hedgehog there.
Maurelatos' hand. And what is he going to search for here?
He has a lot of options, just opening the game. And he's got to really think, what is going to help me against what's coming? And I believe... Can't quite see what that is from here.
Right. And with that mathematician, is that going to be his follow-up play here?
Pretty much, I believe. Yep, there you go. Now, a lot of people always go for Squamata first, because it allows you to drop another Shaddoll monster. So he's going to be able to draw another card here.
All right, let's take a second look at the hand of Maurelatos here. He's going to draw into his 6th card in just a second. He does have the Scout again.
Yep, immediately, and a Sacrifice. So he can almost go for exactly the same turn that he had last time as well. There's the Scout, paying 800.
And the 2 copies of Vanity's Emptiness, they are going to prove crucial again, right? I mean, there's already a construct on the field, so he first has to deal with that. And he again has the bottomless trap hole.
He essentially has the same setup again, plus a Forbidden Chalice.
It's like the almost exact same hand.
Almost. It's unfortunate Twister took out the Scout before he could do anything with it.
Well, he paid 800 life points, but then it was taken out.
And Denko Sekka
Papadokonstantin with the Denko Sekka locking down Maurelatos completely. That is extremely big. It did draw into Shaddoll, Sinister Shadow Games, excuse me there. So suddenly Papadokonstantin, not only does he sit in a commanding position with 3 monsters on the field, Maurelatos, all of his 5 cards are not going to do anything.
And that's it, because now Ioannis can't play any spell.
He draws into a mystical space typhoon.
He's lost.
And he has just lost the game there. I mean,
he lost himself. He beat himself there, basically, by completely filling all of his zones. So even if he would have drawn into something useful, he wasn't able to play it.
Yeah, but then again, like, the challenge was, it seemed like it was his only out. And the Sacrifice. I mean, he needed a monster, of course, but I think when that scout got shut down, that was already spelling doom for him.
Pretty much. I mean, he had 2 Vanity's Emptiness, which would have stopped any more kind of summons. But that's basically it.
Right.
There really was nothing there. Basically. That was just... What can you say? Basically.
Yes. Well, that concludes our opening match for the day. The first of 3 matches in the Swiss portion of the event. And after that, we're going to perform a cut. Now, we're most likely going to bring you some more bubble matches. That is the players that are currently still in competition, and they are dreaming of advancing to the top 32. And if they lose one more time, this little bubble that they are dreaming up is going to burst. And this is why we call it a bubble match.
Yeah.
So if you win, you might be in. It's not even like you're locked up. You might be in.
No, it's not a guarantee.
Yeah. And if you lose, you're out of competition, which
Basically.
is why these games are so feverishly fought.
Yeah. Pretty intense. Very intense.
Yeah, you're Mr. Excitement today. You're still sleeping.
Sorry?
Yeah, you're really excited, I can tell. You're like, yeah.
I'm very excited. I'm also very tired.
Yeah, well, one of the advantages is, that's what some players told me, that in Malpensa, where we are this weekend, there's not that much to do. There are not that many distractions. Sometimes when you're in a city like Madrid, for example, and you're in the city center, players are bound to have a good time in the evening. There's so much to do. And in Malpensa, there's not that much to do.
Well, you'd be surprised, because in Rimini, at the World Championships, there was actually a lot of things put on for the players, like big tours, massive meals at restaurants, big entertainment things. Yeah, and none of the players wanted to do it.
Why is that?
Because they just wanted to play Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh, yes.
It was literally practice, 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 practice.
This is a very common theme when you're going to the either European Championship or the World Championship, that the guys that have been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For 12 hours a day, they will simply continue and play through all of the night. And these guys over there that we just saw, Ioannis and Ioannis, Maurelatos and Papadokonstantin, the Greek guys, also when they come here on the plane, they're going to play the whole time.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I see them in between rounds sometimes, and of course they're always up for a chat, but they are also dueling at the same time. They are multitasking.
Yeah.
Like, so how are you doing? Attack for 800. How are you doing? This is how it works for them. And this was the 3rd time, I think, that we've seen this weekend a Clifford deck getting destroyed. Well,
yeah, I mean, one of them was against a Clifford deck.
Yeah, okay, but...
It's interesting. It's meant to be a very, very powerful deck. It's just looking at every single build, because I have myself a particular build that was built by the judge on the table, Paul Race, who is an incredibly good player. He's the best player that doesn't play, basically, is the way to put it.
Yeah.
But his build of it is just so consistent that you can pull off the one-turn kill every single game.
Okay.
So you can actually have a look at that. We did a deck feature on it. That was his build. It did have one of the cards that I don't like in this build is Volcasaurus, and a lot of people ask me why that is, and it's because it's a rank 5 Xyz monster. The only thing that's level 5 in your deck is Scout, and
you never want to have it on the field.
It doesn't have the ability to be able to be normal summoned like all of the other ones.
Yeah.
So what you have to do is pendulum summon them, somehow destroy both of your pendulum zones to be able to bring out a Volcasaurus.
That sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah.
And
when you could be just bringing out a lot of Cleefort monsters.
Yeah.
And attacking.
All right. Well, that was round 1. We are going to take a look at the standings and see who's currently, currently when I'm saying that, I mean prior to this round, leading the pack. So let's try to bring that up for you guys. I also have a copy here. So there you go. Jake Quincy from the UK, currently leading the field. And who else do you recognize here?
Luigi Alisi, one of the big name players.
Yes.
Now, I'm not quite sure of the other players, to be honest with you. I've not really seen.
Christos Mourikis, also from Greece, is one of the players that came very close before. He was among the quarterfinalists at YCS London last year, the largest Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship series in Europe. So he's very much used to this level of competition. Other players that you don't see in the top 10, but you can see them on the website in the written coverage. You can easily click on a link below the Twitch feed to go there. Leo Guinet, for example, on 14th place, Sascha Fabian from Germany, or the former European champion Stefano Memoli, also among the top of the field.
There's also Peter Gross.
Peter Gross is
15th.
also,
Yep,
first time he made day 2 in Italy. He told me it's his curse, his own personal curse, that he cannot make day 2 in.
Yeah,
Italy, he didn't even want to come to Italy.
Wow.
Yeah, it was that bad. But eventually, what made him go was the ordeal of a traveler program.
Yeah.
Where this was like the last YCS of the year.
But you were saying that he didn't even know about it. Was that right?
That was the original story that somebody fed me. But it turned out that was wrong.
Oh, okay.
It was a little bit different. He said that, yeah, I was aware, and this is why I'm here. It's almost the only reason why I'm here. Of course, he's going to have a good time together with his friends, but mostly it's about collecting that very cool playmat.
And also to mention, we had over 900 Italians playing yesterday, and 7 of the top 10 are also Italian.
Yeah, not that surprising. But great effort by the Italians put up. I think it's the highest number of players from one country in an event. I'm not quite sure. We got to look up the numbers for Bochum, but I don't think there were that many Germans.
We would have to look that up.
All right, we're going to cut through a quick commercial, and then we're going to be right back with the winner of our match and interview him, ask him about the key plays. So don't go anywhere, just stay there, and see you in just a bit.
Rampage! Geargia monsters can build anything! Massive robots! Super tanks! You can get it together with Geargia Rampage! A full 42-card deck! Get your gear on! Konami. Yu-Gi-Oh! The new challengers! A new generation battles for supremacy! Fusion, Ritual, Synchro, Xyz, and Pendulum monsters! These new challengers come in every form! 9 cards per pack, each pack sold separately. Konami.
And we're back with Ioannis Papadokonstantin. I practiced.
Yes.
And congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
So you're still in competition. How does that feel? You made day 2 and now you have to win 2 more rounds to make it to the top 32.
I'm feeling very well, and this is pretty cool. So
Yeah.
I want to win also the 2 rounds.
Is it your biggest accomplishment so far, or have you been in the top 32 before?
No, this is my biggest.
This is going to be the first
yes.
time. But you traveled here with your friends from Greece, right?
Yes, a lot of Greek guys have come
Yeah,
here.
you're constantly doing well. Like you guys are at the very top of the field.
Mm-hmm.
How do you prepare? Like, how do you pull it off? Is it just a lot of testing, or?
Yes, we all the Greek guys we test a lot in the hotels and also in Greece.
Uh-huh.
So we are a little bit prepared for the decks that will be see here.
Okay. Now some of you have decided to go with Clifford, and but you went with Shaddoll. Why did you go with Shaddoll? Why did you play Shaddoll this weekend?
I think Shaddoll have the best matchup against
Burning
Burning
Abyss?
Abyss. So I decided to play against the most popular deck.
Okay.
And my bad matchup is Clifford, so it was a little difficult to win.
What cards do you run to help you against Clifford?
I have in my side deck 1 Mystical Space Typhoon, 1 Twister, and 3 Fairy Winds.
Okay.
So
Is that enough?
let's make the match little better.
A little bit better, yeah. Okay. What about Denko Seka? Do you like that card? It was very important in that match just now.
I think Denko Seka will be my favorite card after this weekend.
After this weekend?
Yes,
Yeah.
because also it gives I win the match
With Denko Seka,
with Denko Seka,
Yeah.
and at Saturday I win a lot of matches
With the
Denko
card as well?
Seka, yeah.
Okay. What were your 2 losses yesterday?
I lost against Shaddoll Artifact. Yes, 2 Shaddoll Artifact.
2 times.
Yeah.
All right. What happened
Because
there?
the mirror is really strange, and if you don't open well and your opponent open well, you're
A little bit behind.
Yeah, you're really behind. And
Okay.
you can't.
All right. So this is there another player from Greece that you're looking up to? Is there somebody who's like teaching you or something like that? How does it work in your community? Run us through it.
Yes, my friend Vangelis Argyris and also Mourikis and Themistoklis Gizis.
They are the ones?
They say to me to play Denko Seka. That was the most.
All right. We didn't have your deck list ready, so we didn't know about all your choices from the side deck and all the cards that you're running in the main deck. Is there something special that you're running apart from the Denko Seka?
No, I think it's pretty standard.
Pretty straightforward, okay.
Yeah, I play only 1 Stormforth. That's a little strange.
Yeah, why is that?
For the mirror match especially, and it was like last minute choice.
Are you happy with the choice so far?
I didn't see it in my
didn't
hands
see
still, so I don't know yet.
Yeah, we've had that before. We're like, oh, you're running a very special card. How is it doing? And it's like, I never draw it.
Yes,
So,
like that.
all right. So 2 more wins for you.
Yes.
Then you're in the top 32. And it's going to be your first time, you said?
Yes.
So what will change after this weekend?
I don't know.
You don't know yet?
Yeah.
All right. Are you going to take it one step at a time? Going to be like just focusing on one match? Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So thank you very much for the short interview. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
And we're going to be back. We're going to be having interviews with